And hopefully I'm recording now. All right. All right. A couple more people to admit. Okay. I think we're okay. All right. So I'm going to try to keep an eye on things in the corner of my screen as I'm kind of watching people if I got to admit people, but we are going to start. Welcome everybody to the first preseason Zoom meeting, track and field preseason Zoom meeting that I've ever done in my life. So this is certainly uncharted territory for me. My name is Ian Parzik. I'm the head track and field coach here at Holy Family. It's fun to be able to kind of see a lot of the faces that I know and new faces and all kind of all over the place. And that's, I think, one of the coolest things about track and field is getting the chance to kind of meet some new people and see some old friendly faces. This is my 19th year at Holy Family, 19th year as a track coach. And I think it's like my 15th or 16th, no, 14th or 15th as either a co-head coach or track coach or a head track coach here at Holy Family. I also coach football, and then I teach science here at Holy Family, primarily biology, earth science, and kind of chemistry in the mix along the way too. I just wanted to kind of start off with first, I'm super excited. Like I can't say how excited I am because we didn't have a season last year, right? And obviously to have a chance to be able to get out there and have a season and do some of the things is certainly something that I think all of us as a staff and myself included are certainly excited about. And so should you guys, because I think, you know, it's the snow's starting to melt and all that good stuff, but I think it's that time of year where we get spring fever, and what a great chance to be able to scratch that itch and be able to get out on the track. The other request that I have for you, and this might maybe seem a little bit weird, but it's also helpful to me, and it's going to flood my inbox. But whether it's kind of during the meeting, if you can kind of secretly do it off to the side, or whether it's kind of after the meeting. But what I'd like you to do is, number one, for those coaches, you don't need to email me. But number one, I would want you guys to be able to send me a quick email. And all I got to do on the email is just say who your athlete's name or names are. And if maybe a question comes up or something, maybe you put that on there. But I'm kind of in uncharted territories because, and I'll tell you a little bit about the story later on, but basically the conference released information about our schedule yesterday. So I've been scrambling for 24 hours trying to get this meeting ready to kind of give you guys some more picture of what the year is going to look like. Okay. So and I'll remind you of this at the end, but send me an email for attendance purposes. And it's going to help me start to continue to compile my email list and create rosters and all that stuff. Okay. With that, I am going to hand it off to a gentleman, Coach Jeff Lensmeyer, for a moment to open up our meeting with prayer. And I thought it would be fitting to hand it off to him because several years back, 19 years back, he hired me as an assistant track and field coach to coach with him. And it's really cool for me to be able to have, 4 and 5 years or so ago when he kind of came back into the fold, to hire him back as an assistant for me. So I'm super excited to have Jeff obviously back, and Jeff's going to lead us in prayer.
Thank you, Ian. If you'll join me in prayer in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, amen. Heavenly Father, be with our young athletes as they test their physical skills. Let them play well, but fairly. Let competition make them strong and never hostile. Grant them the strength to best their opponent and lead them to always help the opponent up. Grant them moments to rejoice, but not in adversity to others. Help them stay safe from injury, both physical and emotional. Help them to learn something that matters once the game is over. Help them to remember that sports are just games. If they know victory, allow them to be happy. If they are denied, let them not envy. If through athletics they set an example, let it be a good one. In the name of our Son, Jesus, amen. Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen.
Thank you, Coach Lensmeyer. So without further ado, and I know I didn't have necessarily a great pre-meeting with my coaches, but I'm going to briefly, coaches, if you could just maybe just quickly, and maybe just start with Jeff real quick, just do a quick little intro, who you are, kind of how long you've been here, and what disciplines you coach. Go, Coach Lensmeyer, you're up first.
All right. Again, Coach Jeff Lensmeyer, started the track program at Holy Family back in 2000. I've been coaching for close to 30 years. And I coach the pole vault, hurdles, sprints, and have basically coached it all over the years, but that will be my focus this year.
Coach Ron, maybe next.
Hello, everyone. My name is Coach Ron Hoffman. I am the head boys and girls cross country coach here at Holy Family. This will be my, I believe, 15th season at Holy Family. In all, I am a 21-year veteran in coaching track and field and cross country. I will be specializing in all things on the track. So if you're running any event from the 100 on up through the 2 mile, you're going to see a workout that I've planned for you. So I look forward to working all with you. And this includes the relays as well. So any running event on the track, you will be seeing something that I wrote up for you. So looking forward to getting started here.
Maybe Coach Fry next. Go ahead.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Coach Garrett Fry. This is my second year with Holy Family. I do all the strength and conditioning, and I also coach football.
Let's see, Coach Anna Scow-Anderson, go ahead.
I'm Anna Scow-Anderson. I have been coaching intermittently at Holy Family for the last 2 full-ish seasons, kind of back and forth, kind of depending on what's going on. I specialize in high jump. I did the Hep and Pentathlon in college, so I have a decent knowledge of most of the other events, and I'm excited.
All right, thanks, Anna. I think Coach Stalock, you're in here somewhere, right? I think he was. He was a minute ago. Coach Jim Stalock, are you there, buddy? We're not hearing anything, bud.
There he is.
Here, you got to hit unmute, Coach.
I think he is. Something's going wrong. I'm going to punt. Here we go. This is what happens in Zoom meetings. Coach Stalock, his son, Nick, is one of our throwers for us. Coach Jim has been with us for, I want to say it's been about 6 or 7 years, kind of primarily working with kind of our middle schoolers and originally, and then has kind of worked his way up to work with our varsity athletes. And Coach Stalock primarily works with me with the throwers. Okay. I think that might be it for coaches that are in here. Is there any other coach that I'm missing on my list here? I'll kind of briefly at least say who else we got going, but I think that's it. Okay. Coach Lauren Cayley, who's our female Phi Ed teacher, or women's Phi Ed teacher here at Holy Family, will be an assistant for us, primarily working with the sprints. Andrew Ramos will be working with our distance. He was also an assistant boys track coach. And then also, last but certainly not least, and he couldn't make it tonight because he's hearing confessions with Father Bob. And Father Nels Jengdahl will be helping us out again this year too. So it's great to have him on our staff. It's kind of cool. I asked him last year, I said, have you ever considered being a track coach? And he's like, oh yeah, I would. So I was really impressed by that. So I'm really happy to have Father Nels on our staff too. And like I said, I as the head track coach, I manage, 9 or 10 different assistant coaches. But I primarily, the discipline that I coach is the throws, shot, and disc. Okay. And I want to say it out loud, like parents and athletes, I absolutely love my staff. It's a lot of them have been with me for a long time. Coach Alex Kraus is the other one that I forgot to mention. But Coach Alex Kraus, Coach Ron, Coach Jeff, these guys have been with me for the better part of either over a decade or the better part of a decade. And that's a big deal. And having been hired by Coach Jeff back, almost 20 years ago, it's really cool to have that consistency on our staff. And the other thing that I always take pride in as a head coach is that we cover every discipline. There isn't a discipline that we don't have a coach that has expertise in that field to be able to cover. So your athletes will get coached and receive good coaching from this large staff that we have compiled. Couple little quick things. Again, I'm going to try my best to. I want to keep this to a minimum. We'll maybe take like one little stretch break in the middle, but I'm going to try to move fast. If at any point, if there's something that comes up or whatever, just throw me an email. I think just so we're not necessarily all staring at the screen. You got to send me an email anyway for attendance purposes. So if there's a quick question or something that maybe can be asked sort of offline, let's try to do that. What do I love about track and field? I love about track and field the fact that there's something for everyone. There's an event and there's a discipline and there's things that anyone and everyone and all types of athletes can enjoy, find success at, and find a place. And I think that there are relatively very few sports that can say that. It's also an opportunity. I'll share a couple of quick stories. I think back to an athlete of ours, Aaron Brown, who was originally a soccer player, right? And she kind of came to track and field, maybe a little bit on a whim, but she was like, well, I want to train and I want to make myself better as a soccer player. And as the years went on in our track program, she realized that, I'm really very good at this. She becomes one of the best hurdlers in the state and ultimately earns a Division I scholarship. Another athlete, Bria Wetch, who competed for us a long time ago, but one of our original tracksters back when around Coach Jeff Lensmeyer's time. And, again, she was certainly very committed to the sport of track and field, but earned herself a scholarship to Oregon and is now a professional runner, recently competing in, the Olympic trials. And so there's opportunity, right, is my point, because it's one of those events and sports that I think sometimes maybe feels like, and this is something we fight as track coaches as feeling like an afterthought. It's not. It's a stepping stone, and I really want us to know that and to feel that and to seize that opportunity. I also want to, I think it's important for me to use this as a chance to brag a little bit, right? I don't do that a lot. I'm pretty humble. I don't say a lot about what we do and what we do as a program. I let sort of what we do in our practices and our meets sort of speak for themselves. But before the cancellation of last season, prior to that, 16 of 17 seasons, Holy Family has sent at least one female participant to state. The streak has included 8 state champions, 68 all-state awards, and 95 state participants. And 15 of those 17 years at the state meet for the boys includes 56 all-state awards, 79 state participants. During this stretch, there has not been one year where we haven't sent at least one athlete to the state meet. And I can safely say there are many, many schools that are around this state that cannot say that. So the opportunity, the chance, and also quality coaching and quality experience is there in front of you. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to try something here. I'm going to try sharing my screen for a second to say a couple of things, and hopefully this works. Gosh, I hope it does. Are you now seeing like the fire cross country and track and field page? Is that true? Jeff Lensmeyer is giving me the thumbs up. That makes me feel better. Okay, so some things. As far as sort of communication goes, so you guys understand kind of the lines or layers, kind of my first step in kind of the communication process when we get into the fold of the season is Twitter. So I'm going to ask that anybody and everybody, if you have not, follow at HF Track Field on Twitter. The reason being is that if schedules change and things like that, this phone here, right, this thing is in my pocket. And if I'm not near my computer, I can quickly create a message that says practice has been canceled or the meet has been canceled. Stay tuned for more information, that kind of thing. And all I got to do is pull that out of my pocket and make that announcement. The second level then is going to be email, which is important that I get responses from you guys tonight, as well as getting registered so I know who is on our roster. Managing a roster of our size, it's really important that we know who we have initially, because it saves on me being able to manage the information. Then the third sort of step is, the website itself. And you'll notice that the calendar is pretty bare right now because, like I said, yesterday was the time that I finally received our conference. So I'm working feverishly on that. And you'll see sort of more and more things sort of filled in here. And I'll talk about some of these things as we sort of go along. Now, going along with that, right, as far as sort of communication, athletes, number one, talk to your coaches, right? If you got questions about, where do I stand in this particular relay, or what do I got to do to be able to do this? We pride ourselves in track and field to provide opportunities. And with the heavy amount of meets that we have, we can do that. But ultimately, as we kind of pare things down to the subsection and sections and the championship and advancement meets, we ultimately have to make some decisions, right? And while track and field, the nice part about it is you got a stopwatch or a tape measure, and the stopwatch doesn't lie and the tape measure doesn't lie. But we also, we reserve the right as coaches to be able to make some decisions, right? Meaning, like, if we've got a relay and we've got a senior who's been on our squad for 4 straight years, and say they're only 1/10 of a second off of the same split as maybe a sophomore or a freshman. You know what? I think sometimes we're going to make some leaning towards that senior and give them a shot on that relay, because we need to be able to reserve some right on that situation, right? And the other thing, like going along with athletes and communicating with your coaches, I think, how do I want to word this? Like,
What do you need?
the whole supper table talk kind of concept. When we're at home, well, coach so and so did this or whatever, or coach so and so put so and so on the relay. And I think that sometimes we need to somewhat avoid that. We need to sort of breathe and take a moment and allow ourselves to ask the pertinent questions, and then ultimately approach me, right? I want to make sure that I'm the sounding board, and I want to be able to sort of allow my coaches to coach, and then I will help manage decisions as we move through the season. So hopefully that kind of makes sense, guys. Quickly, so the next thing, registration. Okay, so I'm going to flip to another website right now, the Holy Family website. So hopefully you're sort of familiar with this. If you go to activities and you get registered, right? So it'll bring you to this sort of splash page where you need to register. Our athletes, they must be registered in order to participate in practice. So you absolutely must be registered to participate in practice. And like I said, it also speeds up the process of allowing me to be able to manage our roster, especially when we're starting the season, and especially because we're starting the season in sort of a weird situation with, I don't know who we got and I don't know where we're at. And then all of a sudden we got a practice date and then we got meets flying at us. So the quicker that gets done, the better. The other two things, right? And I'm going to go back to the track site. Is so register your athlete. I have a little link there to click that. The same thing that I just showed you. Where is it? Emergency card right here. I know that you do have to fill out emergency information on the registration process, but I'm kind of old school. I like paper. And I know that might sound a little funny, but I put in my med kit and it travels with me to the meets. And this emergency contact form is a back pocket sort of safety item for me. If something does happen, we have that liability in our pocket, but we also have the ability to contact and reach out without having to program 250 phone numbers into my phone. So please fill that out, get that to me. You could have an athlete drop it off at school. You could get it to me. I want to try to get as many of these before the first day of practice. You can send it to me in the mail. If you can't do that and you want to just scan it and send it to me, that's not a big deal, but I want to avoid that as much as possible, because then I'm making 150 copies, right? So I hope if we can drop those things off, get that taken care of. And then going along with that, the $75 uniform deposit check. Just a uniform deposit check that is made out to Holy Family, put like track and field uniform in the memo line, or uniform deposit, track and field uniform deposit. That check is basically a guarantee upon handing that check in, gets a uniform handed out or checked out to the athlete. And then when the athlete returns that uniform at the end of the season or the end of their competition season, then that they will receive the check back. We're a sport that ends in the summer and after school ends. And years ago, I was chasing down athletes in the middle of July to try to find uniforms. When there's $75 on the table, I think there's a little bit of more skin in the game, and it guarantees that we get our uniforms back. Okay. All right. I think I can stop sharing for a while because I can move away from that website for a little bit. All right. Clothing. I won't, normally we can't maybe have like a little post-meeting talk about some of this stuff, but I'm basically going to say this to sum it up and make it fast. Dress warm. It's Minnesota and it's the spring, and it is weather that is all over the place. Bring layers, have layers, wear multiple layers. It's easier to take a long sleeve shirt off than it is to produce a long sleeve shirt out of nowhere, which doesn't exist because you didn't bring it. So bring extra clothes, wear layers, all that good stuff. Think about having a good pair of shoes, a good pair of training shoes. If you got questions about shoes and what to buy or what to get, I think I'm going to say this: email Coach Ron Hoffman. If you don't have his email address, let me know and I'll get you his email address. Ron's my shoe expert, and he can give you some ideas about, especially on the track. Those of you that might be slated to be throwers, I think a lot of you kind of have a little bit of an idea, and you can talk to me as well too. But the primary thing is at least a good pair of workout shoes is a big deal, right? You can't come in the flip, the slides that don't fit right and don't have laces on them, right? And also know that, like if you guys are looking to buy some footwear, the various running stores that are around the area, I'm thinking of like TC Running and the Lakes Running Company and some of the other ones that are in the area. If you guys just say, hey, I'm an athlete at Holy Family, I virtually guarantee that they'll drop, they'll drop a certain percentage off the price. They'll cut you at least somewhat of a deal. So always make sure if you're buying track gear and shoes and things like that, any sort of those track specific stores, let them know that you're an athlete at Holy Family, because they contact me all the time asking, Ian, can we get deals with you? But we can guarantee your athletes this. So ask them. Okay. All right. Good. We're moving pretty fast here. So, this is a big deal, right? I'm actually going to, I'm sorry, I'm going to share this one more time because I want to share. So hopefully you're seeing the website again, right? So it says order your track and field gear here, right? It says deadline 3/14 at midnight, but the deadline has been extended to tonight at midnight. So tonight, when this meeting gets over, if you have not ordered any of your gear, and again, none of it's required. I recommend, the nice thing is that we have sort of the long sleeve outer gear. We have some of the sweatsuits and the warm-up gear for you guys to be able to put on and wear. We've got a pretty good deal going with Big and the representative Brian DiLorenzo that I've known for the better part of like 18 years. So I'm saying, look at it, consider it. There's some good stuff there. That website will again close at midnight tonight because we need to be able to place the order in order for us to be able to get that delivered the week after spring break in a timely fashion. So again, I'll kind of remind you this at the end, make sure that you have placed your order by midnight tonight. Okay. There's also some mom and dad options on there too, and all that good stuff. So take a look at what they have to offer. All right. So stop share. Now, a little bit about kind of first week of practice and things like that. So I think most, 3:29, Monday, the March 29th is the first day of practice. Is that a preferable start time? No, not really, because it's spring break. Okay. It is what it is though, right? I'm counting my blessings, the fact that we have a track season, so I'm not gonna go crazy over things. But here's the deal. That week, we are practicing on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, that week of spring break from 3 to 5 p.m. and that will be everyone, right? I toyed with the idea of bringing in the throwers early, but I'm not gonna. We're gonna have practices from 3 till 5 p.m. on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, starting on Monday, March 29th from 3 to 5 p.m. Okay. I get it. If you're not going to be here for spring break, so be it, right? Make sure that, let's just say sort of mid to late next week or so, drop me an email and say, this is just a reminder, this is so-and-so, I'm not going to be around during those 4 practices during spring break. And then at least we know. If you are going to be here, the expectation is that you will be at practice during those times. This is valuable for several reasons, because it's some pre-training to when we get the whole group back. But secondarily, and I'll talk a little bit about sort of the COVID procedures that we're going to be embarking upon. It gives us a chance as coaches to sort of beta test, if you will, how we're going to organize practices with our groups during that week and with a little bit smaller numbers. Okay. So Monday, 3/29, first practice at 3 p.m. So that's spring break week, right? That 3/29 week. And then the following week, you got Easter Sunday, which is April 4th. And then we have no school on Easter Monday, April 5th. We are going to practice on Easter Monday at 3 p.m. Okay. Because as of right now, we have a tentatively planned scheduled track meet for that week. It's tentative right now, right? So it may become, it may disappear into the ether. I don't know. I talked with them a little bit today, but it is tentatively on the books. So we need to get back with as much of our group as possible on that Monday, so we can get some more practices under our belt to prepare for our first meet that week. Now, typically then Tuesday, we're back in school of that week. So that'd be April 6th. Typical start time for our practices will be 3:05. That's 20 minutes after school gets out. And that is our normal start time. A couple little notes concerning practice. We will practice every day that we do not have a track meet. So again, let me say that again. We will practice every day that we do not have a track meet. Okay? We practice Monday through Friday. The only reason we would ever do anything on Saturday, primarily kind of reserved for maybe some of the upperclassmen, and that would be sort of organized separately in certain groups by myself or my assistants, and we would communicate that to them in advance. And also note this, so parents, as far as sort of rides and things like that, I can guarantee that we'll never go later than 5:30 for a practice. 5:30 is like the dead stop time for us. So we'll be starting at 3:05 and we'll never go later than 5:30. Now that doesn't mean that every practice goes till 5:30. Sometimes the distance runners will maybe get done a little earlier. Sometimes the sprinters might get done a little, whatever. It's give or take on certain days and weeks. But know that our hard dead stop time is 5:30. The only reason that maybe if we would get some extra work a little bit after that would be, again, arrange with some of our upperclassmen where rides aren't necessarily an issue. And we would maybe go an extra half an hour or something like that with them. And again, that would be arranged in advance. Okay. Jeff, do you have a question?
I was just going to say, if kids anticipate being in multiple events, that's what would probably keep them at practice a bit longer. If a kid is a sprinter and then a high jumper or a pole vaulter and a sprinter, their workout's going to last just a little bit longer due to multiple event participation.
Yep.
So
thank you, Jeff. Very good point. And I didn't say this, but we work out in 3 primary groups. We have the sprints, we have the distance crew, and then we have the throwers. The 3 kind of primary large group disciplines in terms of how we train and divide during practice. Does it mean, some of you might not know exactly where you fit in, and that's okay. Like that's, I think, one of the coolest things about track and field. Just do your best to decide right now, decide as we go into those first weeks of practice. I got a ton of assistant coaches and a ton of sets of eyes for us to be able to figure out and kind of ultimately place you or push you into the right direction as far as what areas, if it doesn't maybe seem like the best fit. All right, excuse me. All right. Thanks, Coach Lensmeyer. Next, little side note, middle school track and field. I've had multiple questions about that over the last several weeks. And I know some that are on this call right now are middle schoolers. But our true middle school track and field program or club that we've done for the last half a dozen years or so right now is on hold by recommendation of our administration. There's a slim chance that it may end up happening, but we just don't know that we can say yes to it right now. But what I am allowed to do is to float the idea, and why some of these middle schoolers are on this call right now is that if there are some middle schoolers, 7th or 8th graders that are out there that would want to join our high school team, and then they're from feeder schools that are associated with Holy Family, then they are free. Absolutely, they are allowed to. Absolutely allowed to do that. So that registration process needs to get going. It's a little different. Reach out to me. I'll get you in contact with Nick Tibbs, our AD, and get registration going on that. And I invite those that are middle schoolers on this call to spread the word a little bit. If that's something that of other athletes that would want to do that and just join and compete with our high school team, that's great. We've had it a ton over the years happen, so it's not uncharted territory. Like I said, I got a humongous coaching staff that are able to oversee it. And certainly, those that are middle schoolers, I know that there might be some nerves a little bit about it, and that's okay. We're never going to put you in a spot where, oh my gosh, I can't handle this. We're going to put you in spots where you feel like you can be successful and enjoy some competition, but also to show improvement. Okay. All right. Next little point of talk, if you will. I said it earlier. The track meet schedule. This has been this month and a half or so has been incredibly discombobulating for me. For those of you that know me well, I'm a planner and an organizer, and I have been gritting my teeth for 2 months trying to figure out a track schedule and having no answers for anybody. And still to this very moment, our track schedule really is sort of in flux or in limbo a little bit because, like I said, the Wright County Conference just released the new meet schedule yesterday. I have had about 27 hours to digest it and try to start to solidify a schedule. My goal is that hopefully by about the middle of next week, I will have a nice cleaned up schedule that I will be able to put onto a nice file and send that out to everybody that has not only the meets on it, but also practices and all the information that we're talking about tonight. But in general, the Wright County Conference has opted in order to meet some of the COVID protocols that I'll talk to you a little bit later on, is that starting on Monday, April 12th, the varsity and JV meets will be split over the course of 4 weeks. Varsity meet will usually occur on a Monday or a Tuesday. I should say Tuesdays more often than Mondays. And then the JV meet is on a Friday. This allows us to be able to maximize and meet the stipulations because there's number restrictions from the high school league as well as the Minnesota Department of Health on how many athletes can compete in the meet. Usually the meets will be ran where it would be sort of boys followed by girls, and then we flip-flop at girls followed by boys at the next meet. So that'll kind of flip around from week to week. So it's not always the girls that are going later in the sequence and the boy vice versa, or the boys going later in the sequence. So after those 4 weeks of sort of the Wright County Conference varsity quads and JV quads, there's sort of 2 weeks that are sort of open that we're going to try to maybe fill in with 1 or 2 meets. And I got a couple of things in my back pocket. Following that, then the Tuesday, May 25th is the conference championship. So it's a change that was originally on the calendar, the activities calendar. Subsection week is the week of June 1st. Memorial Day is that Monday, and then the week of June 1st is subsection week. Saturday, June 12th is the likely section meet date, and the last days of the season would be the state meet on June 18th and June 19th. So there is a significant amount of time where because I believe it's like June 4th, I think might be like our last day of school. Don't quote me on that, but there's a fairly significant amount of time during sort of the subsection section state series that we are going to be not in school. And then last two things, if you like, calendar's ready, people, right? And you'll see this when I send this out, but we have two home meets. We have the varsity Wright County Conference quad on Tuesday, April 20th, starting at 3:45 p.m. And then we have the JV Wright County Conference quad on Friday, April 30th. So it kind of easy to remember, April 20th, April 30th, 2030, right? The 20th and 30th, we host these meets. And we cannot, Holy Family cannot host meets without your help. So I am imploring, I am asking, I am, gosh darn it, darn near begging, put those dates on your calendars. When I send out my email to try to solicit help, please consider volunteering your services during the track meet, because more than ever this year, we're going to need it to be able to work around and work through some of the COVID stipulations, right? All right, good. All right, we're getting down the home stretch here, people. So here's what I have. I have this built in. I literally wrote in stretch. I want everybody. This might sound silly. I do this with my classes. Everybody needs to stand up. Stand up. Stand up. Coach Lensmeyer, stand up. Get up out of your chair. Walk around your chair. Stretch. You got to move your legs a little bit. Come on. You got to stand up. You got to move. I know. I see Alexa laughing at me, and that's good. I like that. Look, I see Joey jumping around some there. Good. Good. All right. So we gotta move around a little bit. You know, we're suffering from Zoom fatigue in the world of COVID, and I think sometimes it's good to get up out of your chair when you're in the middle of a meeting. So we did that. All right, let's have a seat, and we're on the home stretch. So just some basic expectations just for the season. You know, number one, you know, track season's short. It's short and fast. And it's, you know, we need our athletes there, right? But we get it, right? I mean, our lives are our lives, and we balance and juggle a lot of things. But we need our athletes there to be able to be at practice, to train, because, you know, you miss 3 or 4 sort of training days, and that can be, you know, that can be upwards of 15 to 20, you know, 15%ish, 10 to 15% of your total amount of training days. And all of a sudden, you know, now we're starting how that's going to cut into the grand picture of how we end up, you know, in the final weeks of the season. Athletes, you know, we get it though. Communicate, right? Communicate if you're not, you know, if hey, I gotta, you know, Coach P, I gotta leave a few minutes early today. You know, okay, fine. Let me know. Let me know why, right? Over communicate that. Send an email. I like to say this, you know, especially our athletes. It's, you know, it's not mom and dad's responsibility for them to be the ones that are communicating that so-and-so has to leave a little early or might be a few minutes late to practice or that kind of thing. Or we've got a funeral that we have to attend or something, whatever, right? Let's make sure that we communicate and get that on the table, right? And I say this every year, it's the only time of year that we can run a track season. And hallelujah, we have a track season, right? I personally would never run a mandatory track practice in the fall that would take precedence over other seasons. I get that we have athletes that are involved in various club sports. I'm excited for you to do that. That's awesome. But I also want to ask that because this is a limited window that we have, that you at least consider taking some precedence and leaning towards track and field. Because like I said, this is the only window of time during the calendar year that we are allowed to run a track season. So it's important that we sort of, it can't be, I just like, to say it, the way I want to say it would be like, it can't be always the choice is I'm going to always leave track practice early every single time to make it to my club sport. There has to be some give and take. There has to be some balance. And that's what we're asking for. My coaches, our coaches are flexible. We're willing to make deals. We're willing to, hey, if I race down there 10 minutes early, Coach Ron, can I get going a little early on the warm up? Sounds good. Hey, Coach Ron, I got to leave a little early today, but tomorrow I can stay a little late. Can we get this? Can we finish the last part of our work on handoffs tomorrow, Coach Ron? Sounds good, right? My coaches and our staff is awesome with that because we get it. Lives are a balancing act, okay? All right, some miscellaneous items. Impact testing, which is the pre-concussion testing service that we use through Ridgeview Medical and our trainers. Yeah, it might seem maybe a little goofy. Track and field isn't a contact sport. I get that. But nonetheless, I've seen concussions happen in track and field. So the impact testing is going to be done. We'll have the first date of that on April 7th, and I'll remind all this. And then we got a backup date of April 15th, and that'll be done sort of immediately after school. It's a return to play protocol. So if a student were to get a head injury or a concussion, the baseline test is a cognitive test that allows us to be able to, and our trainer to be able to determine where they're at in their return to play protocol. And then we know when to clear them to be able to come back to practice. Here's the cool thing. A lot of you, I know for a fact, like I'm looking at, Joey Richardson and Jacob Lensmeyer right now. I already know they've done it. So they don't have to do it because they did it for football already in the fall. Okay. So the vast majority of you have probably already done it. So that will save on time. Those that haven't, I'll work with them. Picture day is Friday, April 9th. The form and information will be coming soon, but picture day is Friday, April 9th. In the past, we've had a snack coordinator. I have to get clarification on whether or not we can have snacks and a snack coordinator. I'm imagining with COVID that we may be able to pull off if it's individually wrapped items and things like that. But I'm going to get clarification on that. But if there is in my back pocket, if there's anybody that would be willing to be my snack coordinator, helping to set up when snacks are going to be brought and where what meats versus what meats we have, let me know. Send me an email. Next, this is one that I'm really happy to announce and to say out loud. The team captains for this season. Last year was a wash, obviously, and it was no fun. And we had a group of team captains that acted admirably, amicably, all those things through that season, but they didn't really have a season. So right now, and there may be, I'm going to discuss with my coaching staff on Sunday. We have a meeting on Sunday. But our captains as of right now are Jacob Lensmeyer, Alexa Quadros, Joy Richardson, and Abby Roper. Returning captains from last season because they deserve it to have a season acting as captain where it's a real season. Now, as I discussed with my staff this weekend, we're going to probably maybe looking at the voting process to open it up to maybe one more or so to our each gender to kind of balance it from what we've done in the past. But those 4 returning captains, Jacob, Alexa, Joey, and Abby, will be captains again. And going with that a little bit about captains and also captains practice, we're not allowed to do like traditional captains practices, but our weight room is open every day after school. You met Coach Fry earlier. He's a great dude. He's in our weight room every day after school. He will be happy to welcome you with open arms and say, come on in and let's work out. And it's not just lifting. He's prepared with plans for any and all events to gain some activity, so those first couple weeks are not such a shock. So consider that. And last couple of things here on the home stretch. Funding. This year is an interesting year, right? So COVID, opens up some new cans of worms, and the costs of running track and field. First off, I do want to say just out loud, thank you to the Neubauers for their help and support of track and field. I want to say out loud, and I'll have more information about this later on. Buy holiday gas cards. They're $20 is $20. You don't lose anything on the deal, but we gain 7% off all sales of holiday gas cards. And I'll have information sent to you later on about that. But that's kind of one of our primary fundraisers, to help support track and field, to pay for some of those perishable items like spikes and batons and tape measures, the things that break, perishable items that we need to purchase every year. It helps to pay for gear for the coaches, hidden costs of COVID. I have went ahead and I'll talk more about where the masking policy is right now when I get to my topic on COVID and COVID response, and where I think it's ultimately going to go. But one of the things that I've purchased for our team are some neck gaiters that have the Holy Family Track logo on it, and our athletes will be given those for free. Doesn't mean they didn't cost money, right? So if there's anybody that's maybe willing to help, and that's an added cost that this year would have never happened. If there's any parents out there that would be willing to help support the payment of the net gaiters for our team, then reach out to me, please. If you're willing at all to donate time, talents, and treasures, if you have ideas about how those time, talents, and treasures can be used to help support your sons and daughters track team, I'd love to hear it. Because each year I'm all ears, and each year I'm always looking for new and interesting things and ways to reinvent the wheel. So that's sort of my talk on track and field funding. All right, so the last, kind of second to last little topic, and then we'll be kind of signing off and getting out of here. I'm hoping to keep this under an hour. We're at 7:50 right now, and I think I can do it. So what was it, a week and a half ago or so, the Minnesota State High School League released their regulations or stipulations, however you want to say it, revolving around spring track and field. It is like, I don't know, I think it's like 22 pages of just a lot of stuff. It's actually, for me, it's quite overwhelming. But nonetheless, as we've sorted through it, as all the conference head coaches met, I'm going to kind of try to summarize a little bit about what this is going to sort of look like. So, as of right now, and these things may change. We're at a point where things are starting to open up a little bit more. They've put like a 250 athlete cap on track meets, which kind of boils down to, they talk about you can have 4 teams at a meet with a maximum number of 62 athletes, or 5 teams at a meet with a maximum number of 50 athletes. And this is part of the reason why we had to split within the conference the ideas of varsity and JV, and then ultimately having to go boys and girls because of the athlete cap that they've put on it, to be able to allow us to maximize, number one, meets that aren't just duels. Because by rule, if you had a duel, that's 4 teams. That's the boys team and the girls team for one high school, and the boys team and the girls team for the other high school. And if we went by those rules, then we would only be able to have dual meets, and that's it. And dual meets, while they're great, they are also, in my opinion, and other coaches might differ with me, I also think that sometimes they're a little bit not as cool, because you're not seeing sort of as many athletes from different schools. Spectators for meets, not sure exactly yet, because the release of information has not totally clarified that, but I'm sure that we will have allowance for spectators. I'm sure that it will probably somewhat, at least at the start, fit the concept of what they've been doing for like basketball and hockey, where each athlete is allowed 2 spectators. But I do have a feeling that I think it will become less and less restrictive as the spring goes on. As of right now, alluding to the net gaiters that I have bought for the team, as of right now, during track and all moments of track and field, we must wear masks. Now, that's as of right now. The high school league has communicated that they're waiting for guidance from the Minnesota Department of Health. Here is my gut feeling. I think it will go the way that ski, alpine and Nordic ski went this last winter as an outdoor sport. As you're sort of checking into the event, you're by the clerk station, you're getting ready to kind of go up to the blocks and get ready and get in the blocks. You've got your net gaiter up, right? And then you get called for your race, or you get called into the ring to throw your shot putter, to throw your discus, or you get called to run up for your high jump. It goes down, and now you race or run or jump. And then when you're done racing, running, or jumping, it goes back up. That is my suspicion of what that will end up happening. So we'll see. So because the last thing I want is an 800 runner running with a mask, because I don't think I wouldn't wish that upon anybody. So all the track coaches in the state of Minnesota are waiting on pins and needles for their announcement on how they're going to handle the masking policy. And that's the information that I have for you right now. So stay tuned. We'll do some forms of pod training. I already kind of talked about it, right? Like, because of the fact that we sort of break up into our 3 groups of, the sprints, distance, and throws. So it sort of naturally lends itself to us to be able to stay separated within our pods. We're going to have hand sanitizing stations, washing hands, and all that good stuff. Don't come to practice if you are sick or have a fever or any sort of symptoms. We're practicing and enforcing social distancing, and our coaches are going to be good about that. The coaches will be masked at all times. We will disinfect equipment. So for example, like they've been doing with basketball practices this winter. My throwers will throw with the implements. When practice gets over, guess what I'm doing? I'm disinfecting implements in order to turn that around for the next practice. And one of the biggest things that I'm going to say out loud is that the water fountains are only available to fill up water bottles. We're not going to have coolers and things at practice. We're not going to have cups. You have to bring your own water bottles to practice. So athletes have a water bottle at all times. Bring a water bottle to practice. Bring 2 water bottles to practice. Okay. And that is sort of my summary of right now as it stands with COVID restrictions. But nonetheless, I have a feeling, I have a hope that I think as this season goes along, that we will see, and we've already seen some of that in the last week or so. Some of these restrictions will become less and less as the season goes along. Okay, and I'll share that as I know it and as it comes. Right. I'm going to end with this, and then we'll kind of open it up for some questions and things like that if we want. But I wanted to end with this. I want to end with a little bit about what I began with. First off, super excited. We didn't have a season last year, and it was one of the hardest things I've ever been through as a coach, right? And I've been coaching a lot of sports for a lot of years. Been a coach for 20 years, and never been through anything like that in my life. I am ecstatic about the chance to have a season and to have these smiling faces in front of me and get a chance to coach and move around and walk around and push and encourage and do all those things. Which brings me to, one more thing that I love about track and field, what it represents. One of the things that it truly represents to me is the level of camaraderie that you see in the kids and the coaches. It's funny, I'm on this head coaches meeting for the conference a week and a half ago, and it's like I'm seeing old faces. We're talking, and it's so fun for me, because when we're at meets, it's, yes, we're rivals, but at the same token, like there's 6 or 7 coaches that I've become really close to in our conference that I really enjoy having them give my athletes some tips. I know that they are okay with me giving them some tips. It's not about the rivalry so much. It's about the push for improvement. The helping each other out as coaches within this conference. And you don't see that in a lot of other sports. You don't, in a sport where you have kids cheering on other kids or athletes cheering on each other. Somebody's taken on the challenge of their first 800 race, right? And our athletes are cheering them around the final corner. I don't think there's any feeling like that and any sort of level of camaraderie like that you see in various athletics. Athletes, parents, tell your friends, right? Track and field, like I said, is sometimes, it's one of those things where people don't know what it is until you actually do it, right? And then all of a sudden it's like a switch. It's a great training sport that can have overlap to other sports. We want and we love multi-sport athletes at Holy Family. Being able to have better foot speed, being faster, being more agile, being stronger are all things that are going to help overlap into other sports that you're involved in. And last, I'll say this, those of you that are kind of new to it, it's okay to be nervous. I think it's, I got nervous before this meeting tonight. I get nervous before meets. I get nervous before games. I've been doing this a long time. I still get nervous. It's good. It keeps me alive. It tells you that it communicates to you that you care. It's okay. I think embrace that. Know that you've got a lot of sets of eyes that are going to be helpful in pointing you in the right directions. We don't have tryouts, right? You join track and field, you will get a chance to compete, and you will get a chance to compete a lot. And that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool for me as a coach to be able to say that. Final reminders, remember to get registered. Order the clothes because the clothing site will close tonight at midnight. Get those emergency cards and $75 uniform deposits to me. And last but not least, what I begin with and what I'll end with, right, is if you were here in this meeting right now, send me an email that says, this is my athlete's name and I was in the Zoom meeting, Coach P. And then that sort of gives me attendance. It gives me something to work off of as I'm building my roster and looking at registrations and things like that on the website in these next several days. And those are the reminders. And last but not least, thank you everyone for coming to my first Zoom meeting as a head coach. And gosh darn it, we have a season. Hallelujah. So I will sort of stop there. And are there any questions that maybe anybody has sort of for the greater good that I didn't cover or that you maybe wanted to ask about? Are we okay? Well, maybe that means that I was thorough and I was able to hit on all the pertinent details. Like I said, once I kind of get my email list compiled and I know who's coming to me, you're going to get emails from me like crazy and I'm going to get information out to you like crazy. Get ready to rock and roll, right? Track and field is a fast and furious season. And that's one of my favorite things about it. Once we go, we're going to hit the ground running, pardon the pun. And we are going to move fast and enjoy it because we have a season. All right. Thank you everybody for coming tonight. Last chance for questions. Otherwise, I am good. I will see you guys in the real world soon. And I appreciate you being here tonight and have a good rest of your night, guys. Thank you. Bye.